I am uneasy with the way things are going in this chapter. If you've seen my latest video where I talk about Tiger, or the one that I titled How Shen Wulong Broke the Series Again, you'll understand why, and I'll go into parts of the information I cover in that video in this review, but it's important to remember that he spared both Nico and Lohan, even though he ended up defanging them. And we'll get to exactly what that means, but it's important before I actually flesh out this idea. Dragon's motivations do not have to be the same as Tiger's. And well, Tiger seems to get the job done in this chapter, which is called the flow of time, tied to a topic that is discussed in this chapter. We start off a bit ahead from where we left off in the last chapter, where Tiger called up Yan and said, I have something that needs to be done. Dragon has requested this, and it seems like that entire call is more or less over. Yan is hanging up. He's a little bit relieved, but Fuzan then comes in because he's a direct subordinate of the worm, and he says he has a guess of what happened over the phone because we miss that entire phone call. And Yan's like, what are you gonna guess, Zan? And Zan is like, all the weapons of mass destruction that Lohan was using as leverage against the worm have all basically been decommissioned. And it all happened because of one word from the connector, from Tiger, but Dragon probably or might have been able to do the same thing. But Tiger here, we see he's a lot more competent. He takes charge a lot more, which again is consistent with what we've seen from the connector in other flashbacks, specifically the Metsudo flashback that I covered in my previous video about the connector. But Yan is like, well, it does kind of make sense because Death Dealers are also technically followers of the connector. They have their loyalties to Lohan, but as we know, most worm members really move at the beat of the connector's drum, basically. But Yan still had to find a way to get in contact with Death Dealer's executives because they were still at a Cold War type of scenario with them, right? They had beef because of Lohan. And Fuzan's like, hey, look, it is what it is. This is better than having Lohan be in control of the nukes at this point. So now Yan has the situation under control. Or more specifically, the connector has the situation under control, but he doesn't want to let the world leaders know or the Kengan Association know about this. They can use this little piece of information for their advantage. But Fuzan then says this. Turns out he could have resolved this whole situation anytime he wanted to. Talking about the connector here, talking about Tiger as well, because Fuzan knows about Tiger, as I'll read from his quote later on, because he continues to say, after how long the dragon was dragging his feet on this job, he came in and took care of it in an instant. And he carries on to say, would be nice if Tiger would stay forever. This is Fuzan talking here. Again, the direct subordinates of the worm and the worm heads, they know what's up. This has probably happened before, where Tiger has intervened and led the worm himself. But there's another detail that I will talk about when I get to it. But Yan's answer to Fuzan saying that is, hey, Fuzan, don't say that. That will actually make Dragon sad. So Yan standing up for his boy, but we then cut to Shen Wulong, who is basically looking at himself in the mirror, or specifically Dragon at this point, right? And Dragon says, don't you think your fashion is a little bit too conservative? So he's looking at what he's wearing, because it's basically a tracksuit, right? He goes shopping, and we transition, and this man takes almost the direct opposite in the approach of fashion. At least he has one of those beach shirts, and he's wearing glasses and everything, which, looking at his design a little bit, it does kinda remind me of Ryuki, at least the front portion of his hair as well as the glasses. That's something Ryuki liked a lot, which I find it interesting that Ryuki's actually made from dragon's genetics specifically, but Tiger's the one who actually likes glasses just like Ryuki. But yeah, casual fit, walking around with a smile, and he's basically saying even though they have the same genes, they have very different tastes basically. But Tiger's not done. Tiger now wants accessories, or specifically him and Dragon agree to get a watch, and they go and they basically buy a watch. And Tiger, you know, he's a bit happy because at least they have the same taste in watches. And he says it just so happens that he does actually like watches as well. And Dragon at this point sort of asks him. So there's some internal monologue happening here. Tiger's basically talking to himself, who is Dragon. And this is where we get a monologue. Again, bad signs in my opinion, because this is what Tiger says. And I'll just read it straight up. Because time is the great equalizer. It flows the same for the weak and for the strong. But what we're doing now is trying to resist the flow of time, Dragon. Doesn't that thought give you chills? And while he says that last part, we can see the panel is looking at him from the ground up, looking at the sky. It sounds a little bit familiar with what Gaia Mokaku's father was saying about how the connector was going down the road of going against the natural order of things. I would say this is another data point to say, cause Dragon doesn't speak like this at all. We've never heard him speak like this. But Tiger carries on saying, cause he went on a tangent basically, but the real reason he likes watches specifically is because at one glance you can tell the time and you know when to go and meet someone. And as he says that, we just jump right into the meeting that he was going to have with basically Dragon's friends, which is Joji, Ryuki, and Oma. But as we'll see later on in the chapter, they're not the only guests that were invited. But Oma's like, you're right on time. And Ryuki, he's greeting Shen Wulong. He's like, hey, what's up, Wulong? They look fine. They are none the wiser to what is happening. But Joji is there as well. He's already drinking up a storm. Oma then explains that he ran into Joji while he was on his way here, and Joji was like he really needed a drink. So that's why he's in this situation in the first place. Ryuki jumps in and says Yamashita and Koga are running late. Those are the other people that were invited to this meeting. He also asked about the change in fashion, change in the way he's wearing, the hair, the glasses, just everything basically. But then we focus a bit more on Joji, and Joji, he's sort of jogging along. But as he puts down his drink, he's confused. He's like, who are you? So Joji, he can notice the smaller details, it seems, that this isn't Dragon, his drinking buddy. And so far, Tiger has not said anything. He's just stood there. But Oma and Ryuki, they're like, bro, you can't be that drunk. Like, that's Shen Wulong. That's Wulong, the Wulong that we know. Ryuki's like, maybe it's the change in hairstyle that made you not recognize him. And then Tiger finally speaks, and all he says is, oh. And we basically cut away from that scene. We have Yamashita and Koga, they're sprinting all the way, they're running for their lives basically. Or at least Yamashita looks like he's running for his life. He's old, his stamina is probably running dry. Koga's fine though. And Yamashita, while he's running, he's saying, well, Oma's probably gonna chew him out for being this late. Koga's like, hey look, that's not my problem bruh. But when they go over there, they find Joji drinking alone. And Yamashita's now asking, hey, what's going on? Where are, Oma and Ryuki and Shen Wulong? Cause, it's time right now. Koga sort of throws a dig at Joji saying, hey, you're getting a bit too drunk. Your wife might end up scratching you again. But Joji's reply, because he eventually answers Yamashita, he basically says, and he's kind of drunk while he's saying this, he's saying the three of them had something come up. They can basically basically start the party without them. And at this point, we transition to a different place where it seems like a construction site is happening. So this is a more or less private place, kinda. And we just hear blows going pow pow blam blam. And it's Ryuki fighting against Tiger right now. He's basically using the Gaio style air rendering at this point. And the connector blocks it with one of his hands. And his reply to that is excellent. He can actually feel the impact of that attack. Like, he actually feels some pain there. And he's excited because he's like, so this is what it feels like to fight. It's spectacular. Again, the panel in which he says this looks ominous. It is a freaky face to see, basically. Now granted, other characters that are protagonist adjacent, you could say, have sort of sus faces, but again, there's a lot more sus stuff going on with Tiger. But Ryuki at this point, you know, he's backed off and he's basically saying it's better said than done, I guess. Cause there is still a gap between Shen Wulong, or who he thinks is the connector that he's specifically talking to, and him right now. So still a ways for him to go. Almost like, you want to tag me in so that I can go at him, but Ryuki's like, nah, I got this, fam. Just trust me. I'm going to end the fight here and now. So Ryuki's like, he's confident going in. But yeah, that's the end of the chapter. I have a bad feeling about how this ends. I think there are a lot of hints that Tiger's not gonna be like Dragon at all. The way he's basically interacted with the antagonists, you know, Nico and Lohan, is that he's spared them. He's had monologues against going against the natural flow, or against the flow of nature, basically, aka time as well. He's shown commanding force over the worm that he's seemingly done before. I think there is a recipe for disaster. Oh, add on to the fact that he doesn't say anything to Joji. We don't know what they said, what he said to get them all the way back to the place that they were. Just so many blank things. A recipe for disaster is what I'm looking at here. But we'll end up seeing in the next chapter. Don't forget to like and sub, and until next time, take it easy.